So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to deal with the activity button, the back button and the summary button. And the add activity button is the more complicated of them. The summary button's a bit like we did with the person. We have to take data from this form onto the next form, which is the summary form. And the back button is very straightforward, where it uses the page navigation service to move us back to the page person and starts a new session. So that's what we're going to do next. So the first thing we have to do is to get a click event for our button, which is here. So our activity button is here, so just after that one. So we're going to do click, tab, and we've got lots of click events on this form now. So we're going to have new handler, and that's it. We don't have to add anything else to this particular button. It doesn't need any sort of selection change or anything, because it doesn't work like that, does it? It's just a button has a click. So fine, I go to F12, the words, and I get that there. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put it inside my region. And it's there. Right, so let's make the code for this. It's a bit long, but it'll be okay. We'll get through it. So the first thing we're going to do is harvest the form. So get our activities off the form so that we know what we're dealing with. Right. So the first thing we have to do is to get our activity off the form. So here we go. So we need an object to hold an activity. So that's making it from the class of type activity. And we're going to then harvest a form using the method that we went through before. So that now gets that activity, this particular activity, off the form, and is going to be added to our. So now what we need to do is increase our tracking values. So we're going to say that our activity recorded are increased by 1, and that's how you increase something by 1 if it's an integer. So you just go ++ and it will automatically increase it by 1, and you could do -- if you want to decrease it by 1. Imagine that you've said that a player has a certain number of lives and you start it off with 3, and then when something happens you go -, it will then make that down to 2. So and then we go there. So we want to record the total number of activity minutes, so that's good, we've got that. And then in this next bit of code, what we have to do is first we have to obey the rules. Do you remember that the activities had to be between was it 2 and 6? So we have to check whether they're allowed to add a new activity in this session. So what we do is very simple. If it's less than or equal to 6, we'll add it. Otherwise, you get a message saying, I'm sorry, you can't add this. You've got all 6 activities allowed in this session. So let's go through the activity added. Right, so record add current activity, which we've got there. We've got the harvested form, so we can record and add the activity. We're going to show a message box as a debug here, and then the count of activities is going to be increased by 1 and shown. Duration text box we clear. Make a single display string for tabbing and making layouts, and display the active activity. Add the list. Then you make a whole string of the activities to display. Remember, we use the string builder, and that puts it in a nice, useful format in one place. And then there's the else, saying that if you've got more than 6, you're not allowed to add anything. So this just won't happen, because if the if records false here, it goes here and doesn't even run any of this code. So that's our add activity button, which is good. So I'm just going to do a save, build, and I'm getting build succeeded. So let's deal with the summary button next. So we've got the summary button, which is here. I'm going to add my click event here. Tab, new event handler tab, I've got it. So then F12, getting very familiar with, I'm sure. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to put it into there, and then I can add the code. And I'm sure you'll know that before I add this, there's going to be a problem because we're going to pass data, but the system is not yet aware that data can be passed. So this is something we have to deal with, and we have to deal with it in page summary first, so that it knows to expect a summary object. So in the code behind for page summary, before we get to the initialized component between the name of the class and before the constructor, let's create our object that it's going to be passed so that we don't get the error in here. So we've got to say summary. So we've now got a summary object that we can work with. So I'm going to put summary and a small s. I want on that, sorry. Oh no, I don't. I want a big, I want a... And that's the summary passed. It now knows that it can receive an object in here, which is of type summary. And if we go back to our page activity, that's now fixed because it knows that it can send something to that form, or that page, sorry. Let's go through the code, really easy. So summary, number, we're adding the items into this summary class that we're going to use. Number of activities, the minutes of exercise, and the total used, because remember that's what we show to the end user when they get to the summary form, the total used in a session. Then we do our navigation bit, which is we create a page object, which is based on page summary, and then we navigate to it with the summary that we've taken with us. So we've got that there. We're adding the summary object, then we navigate to it with the object we've just created. Really, really good. So let's actively do our back button click event. So the back button name just after. I like to get into the habit of putting things in the same order in controls. Style, then name, then click. Style, then name, then click. It's just a habit you get into, and it makes it really easy if you've missed something actually when you have a consistent structure. Okay, so F12 for that, and we've got our method. Do the same as we've got before, and put it into our region. And the code for this is very, very straightforward, and you've seen it before. So I'll just paste this in. Dead easy, isn't it? So you've got to remember that we pass a person back with this. So there we go. Make a new object and then pass the object, which is the page. So that's pass it into the navigation method, or the navigate method, and we go straight back into the navigation to that page. So it's very, very straightforward. Right. A marathon. This is a real marathon when we get to a big page like this where all of the functionality of the application is in one page. Sometimes it's better to split things into different pages and you split the effort up, but I thought that in this case it's better to have as few navigation and display or formatting of controls and so forth to do as we could have done, and I split it into as few pages as we could. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just test my application. So this is always a bit of a nervous moment in case I've missed anything, so I'll save everything, build solution, build old solution, and then hit the run button and hope that everything runs. Yes, that's good. Nothing seems to be broken in a major way. £170. And then we click activities. Now this should now take this object, this person object, through to the page activities. So right, okay, good. All of our controls are loading. We've got all of the 6 different machines, and we've got morning, afternoon and evening for levels. So let's add an activity on the Airdyne bike, which is 10 minutes. Add the activity, and it gives us a summary of that activity and the data you've seen before, which we created in that big string. And then it's nicely tabbed, and it's set it out so that the activity, the machines are lining up, the minutes are lining up, and the used is lining up. That's the rate used. As I remember, I think I told you that took ages. So let's just check our treadmill to make sure that the inclined appears, yes, or weighted. Yeah, so I've got that, that's good. Let's put that in an evening. And how long did I do in that? I mean, I'm super fit, as you realise. I'm going to say I did 20 minutes on the treadmill. That would be absolutely typical from me. So, okay, so right. So you'd go through this and you'd make sure that if I got up to 7 activities, it would reject it and so forth. And then the summary button I will press, but it won't take us anywhere. Nothing data. So it takes us to the summary page, but it hasn't any data to display. So that's good. We can move on to the summary page and then we'll do a final check on the whole application. Good one.